Hi, good day everyone. This is Maria Livni Batausa from BSN English 1B. So now we're going to tackle about a historical places, events, tradition and culture of the Philippines. So here in this video, we're going to learn what are the different places of the Philippines that marks a history in our country. And also, we're going to learn about the events that happened in our country and also the tradition and culture that our ancestors do long time ago. So sit back and relax as going to explore the Philippines. Historical places. Sunken Cemetery, a picturesque square site for the dead. The Sunken Cemetery in Catarman, Camigan is usually visited by tourists instead of relatives. The cemetery stands in a portion of the province wherein the first Camigan locals lived and buried alive due to the Mount Vulcan eruption. The giant cross in the middle of the sea is a reminder that there were ancestors and a culture that sunk due to the natural hazard. Beside sightseeing and reflecting, you can dive under the cemetery and explore the old gravestone that turned into marine life habitats. 0-kilometer Death March Marker. Another landmark that saw the events of World War II is the 0-kilometer Death March marker in Bataan. There are two 0-kilometer markers in the province, one in Bagak and one in Maraviles. The Death March is one of the gruesome parts of the Philippine history, a time when surrendered Filipino and American troops were forced to march 85 miles in 6 days, with only one meal during the entire journey. Bahay Nakpil Bautista. The Nakpil Bautista House was built in 1914 and is one of the oldest houses found in the district of Quiapo, Manila. The figure of the Philippine history lived in this house, including Dr. Ariston Bautista, who invented a medicine to combat cholera, and Gregoria de Jesus, the widow of Andres Bonifacio. Today, Bahay Nakpil Bautista holds items related to Katipunan, memorabilia to the Nakpil family, and an activity and reading area for kids. Agsawa Ruins Albay. The church tower you can see from Casagua Ruins was what was left on Casagua Church in 1636. It was destroyed by Dutch pirates and rebuilt in 1724. However, the church was destroyed again by the Mayun volcano eruption. Though the church has not been rebuilt, the current site is still as glorious thanks to the perfect one-shaped Mount Mayon in the background. Tabun Cave, Palawan. Tabun Cave is where the earliest evidence of man was discovered, where human fossils were found in the Lipuan Point Cave. Archaeological remains and tools have been found, proving that people lived here 1,000 years ago. This historical site, also known as the cradle of civilization, can be accessed by a boat trying to explore the cave, swim, and snorkel offshore. Ilocos Vegan. The beautiful, nostalgic old town street of Calle Crisologo Vegan, Ilocos Sur, is famous in the north. The street glimpse of the past, where you can see the old stone ancestral houses, cobblestone roads, and the horse-drawn carriages. The street was once the venue of the commercial trade in North Luzon, where foreign traders did their business in the Philippines. Now, Calle Crisologo is still a retail haven, where local traders now fill the stalls with souvenir items, snacks, and the other Ilocano delicacies. Addresses Crisologo, Vegan City, Ilocos Sur. Port Pilar. Finally, on the farthest island region from Metro Manila, you will find Fort Pilar, Zamboanga. It's a major historical landmark in the area, which served as the defense fortress against the attacks of the British Portuguese and Moros. Inside the fort is a National Museum branch that showcases Zamboanga as a Spanish city, as well as the collections of antique items, paintings, and the cultural memorabilia. Mount Carmel Hill. The most remarkable piece of the structure in the history of the town, Balilihan, is the watchtower erected at Mount Carmel Hill, located near one of Bohol's historic churches. This structure, made of adobe and limestone, was said to be from the town of Baclayon, made by builders transporting it by foot. During the Philippine Revolution, the original church erected alongside this was burned down and belfry remained up to the present. The tower is measured at 4 stories high, and going inside, this appears to have fewer openings and no clear division among floors. The topmost floor has an arch opening designed with florals and scroll work in a central focal point inside. A concrete stairway is even made for tourists to come up and look at the sights the tower allows. Historical event of the Philippines. Civil and armed campaign for independence from Spanish rule began. Filipino desire for independence led to numerous uprisings. The most important of these began in 1896 and continued until the United States defeated Spain in 1898 in Spanish-American War. Independence was declared at that time, but the terms of the Treaty of Paris in 1898 ceded the islands to the United States. The War of Resistance from 1989 to 1902 against U.S. rule is now referred to by many Filipinos as the Philippine-American War. The invasion of the Philippines by the Japanese. Japan launched an attack to the Philippines on 1941. Just 10 hours after their attack of the Pearl Harbor, initial aerial bombardment was followed by the leadings of the group troops both north and south of Manila. The defending Philippine and United States defending Philippine and United States troops were under the command of General Douglas MacArthur. He had been recalled to active in duty in the United States Army earlier in the year. Douglas was designated commander of the United States Armed Forces in the Asia-Pacific region. The craft of his command were destroyed. The naval forces were ordered to leave, and this because of the circumstances in the Pacific region. Reinforcement and resupply of his ground forces were impossible. The Philippine defense continued until the final surrender of U.S. Philippine forces in Bataan Peninsula in 1942. Corregidor, Quezon, and Osmeña had accompanied the troops of Corregidor and later left for the United States, where they set up a government in exile. MacArthur was ordered to Australia, where he started to plan to return to the Philippines. Most of the 80,000 prisoners of the war captured by the Japanese of Bataan. They were forced to undertake the infamous Bataan Death March. To a prison camp 105 kilometers to the north. During the battle, American and Philippine forces recaptured the city of Baguio in the islands of Luzon from the Japanese occupation. Forced photo by Julius General MacArthur, who had promised to return, landed in the late 1944, thus commencing the military campaign to liberate the Philippines from Japanese. In the ensuing struggle, Manila and the most of the major Philippine cities suffered grievous damage. MacArthur declared the military campaign on Luzon closed only July 4, 1945, but the bulk of the Japanese fighting continued in Mindanao, and Japan had not yet surrendered. Upon his return to Manila, Osmeña pledged a Philippine Army division to participate in the assault landings in Japan. Guerrillas, now part of the army, trained accordingly. The atomic bombs ignited the need for such action. The Japan accepted the Allied terms on August 15, 1945. The explosion of Mount Pinatubo in 1991. During the 9-hour eruption, which happened in the Philippines, ash and the other volcanic elements were blasted up to 21 miles into the atmosphere. Many homes and farmlands were destroyed and thousands of people were killed. As a result of the eruption, which also left the surrounding area horribly damaged. Air travel was affected by the ashfall, which also had a global effect by lowering temperatures all over the world. Volcanologists closely followed the eruption, and the government worked hard to help the wounded residents. The 1986 EDSA People Power Revolution gathered millions of Filipinos from all walks of life march along Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, the main artery of Metro Manila, to the end of dictatorship of the President Ferdinand E. Marcos, and begin a new era marked by the true freedom and democracy. This spirit of movement has not confined to Manila. It manifested through non-violent demonstrations staged in the different cities nationwide. It was revolution marked by its peaceful meanings, led by a nation united to reclaim liberty. The events of February 25, 1986 altered the course of our nation's history. It showcased to the world the remarkable resolve of Filipinos people. It heralded an era of peace. Over the years, we have continued to remember this momentous occasion by honoring the sacrifices of all those who fought the dictatorship. By virtue proclaimed in number 1071, Sections 15, February 25, 2016 is a special non-working holiday throughout the country in celebration of the 13th anniversary of 1986 EDSA, People Power Revolution, the movement, the research, and the democratic institution, and ushered in the political, social, and economic reforms in the country. Historical tradition and culture of the Filipinos. Cuisine. The cuisine of the Philippines reflects influence like Spanish, Indian, Chinese, and of course native indigenous flavors. They typically have six meals: breakfast, lunch, and dinner, accompanied by snacks after each meal, whether it's a festival or a typical day. Filipinos love to eat. Rice is their staple food and is usually consumed alongside other dishes. Some of the popular dishes here are adobo, a meat stew made from pork or chicken, lechon baboy, roasted pig, paksiw, fish or pork cooked in a vinegar and water with some spices like garlic and pepper, and sinigang, tamarind soup with a variety of pork, fish, or prawns. On the other than this, each province has its own twist and spice to its food. For example, Bicol has the spiciest food in all the Philippines. In the name of the ingredients, patis, fish sauce, suka or vinegar, toyo or soy sauce, bagoong, and the banana ketchup are seen commonly in the household and restaurants. In the Philippines. Arts in the Philippines gives a good insight into the culture diversity of the nation. All areas like music, dance, theater, paintings, and literature are very much part of the Filipino culture. Filipinos are incredibly talented in music and subsequently dance. Even in the 21st century, folk music and dances have not lost momentum. There are various groups like Philippine Cast, Barangay Barrio, Hari Raya, the Kariglagan Ensemble who perform folk music and dance. Painting in the Philippines is vested in the country's tattoo tradition, starting from Pintados of Visayas. Some of the famous painting most 17th century can be visited in various museums of Luzon and Mindanao. Other than that, Filipinos are renowned for their work with fabric. The ethnic people make a woven blanket known as binakol, featuring optical illusion designs. The Filipinos are also known for using indigenous materials to paint and weave, such as extracts from onion, tomato, tuba, coffee, rust, molasses, and other materials. Aside from the 3-month Christmas celebration, the Filipinos have a series of different costumes and traditions. Aside from a 3-month Christmas celebration, the Filipinos have a series of different costumes and traditions. One of the long-standing Sunday tradition is the cockfighting. Albeit it's considered illegal or cruel in some nations, it is very normal for Filipinos. It is a common sight in the streets and involves gathering, beating, and feasting over Filipino dishes. Speaking of food, another tradition in the Philippines is street parades. Every fiesta involves street parades with designed floats, music, dance, and delicious local delicacies. No festival is complete without a street parade extravaganza. Filipinos also have a costumes regarding marriage, family visits, and gatherings. They love spending time at the beach, and it is a common sight to witness a big Filipino clan, extended family, friends, neighbors, chilling and vibing near the ocean. Traditional games. Filipinos who've played Pico, Patintero, or Tumbang Preso are very lucky, for they have experienced the joy of playing traditional Filipino games. Sadly, kids nowadays prefer playing with their iPad, Xbox, and mobile games rather than playing outside with other kids. Traditional games are usually played outside when it is in noon or afternoon time. After the nap of the kids, Filipino well Filipino kids will get out from their house and play together with their companions. Traditional courtship. The harana is serenade tradition in rural areas of the Philippines in which young men may formally meet single lady visitors. Now that we are exposed to technology, ideas of dating has changed. Teenagers often use messenger or DMs to make their panliligaw to the person they like. They message them, and if she is still lucky, they will get a reply then. Boom, the rest is the history. Traditional panliligaw is nearly extinct in many areas of the country. Aside from the harana, we can hardly see the other inherent tradition of Filipino courtship, such as paninilbihan, wherein a suitor does course for the girl's family to prove his love for her. Filipino folk beliefs. Folk beliefs, otherwise known as superstitious beliefs, form part of a people's value system and culture. They basically reflect the costumes, traditions, and the mores of a group, which may be based on religious beliefs, opinions, old or popular practices. They also tell of how people view the unknown and the means to appease the gods that control the future. But millennials nowadays doesn't believe in superstitious beliefs anymore because they think it's just a saying that old people believe and it's not real. Traditional clothing. Before, Filipinos are very conservative when it comes to what they wear. They are not fond of the showing a lot of skin in public, especially in girls. But nowadays, a lot of changes happened to how Filipinos were clothed due to the influence of the Western countries. So, traditional clothing long ago for the Filipina young lady is like a whole dress from head to toe. There is no skin except on their arms that have been shown. From their top to the bottom to their feet, it's all covered. And that is how the Filipina young women long ago dressed. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have learned something on our video. And I hope that this video helps you understand the history, the culture, and the events happened in our country. And hope this will remind to us young people about the history, the traditions, and the culture, and the events, the places of the Philippines.